Chosen ones. There are manuscripts that whisper, not in language, but in rhythm. And when one such manuscript was unsealed from a vault buried beneath layers of harmonic stone, it did not release dust, it released vibration. The president was rushed in quietly, flanked not by military guards, but by mathematic mystics flown in under alias. The parchment was ancient, lined in golden spirals and ratios unseen by public eyes. But what stopped them cold wasn't the math. It was your name, embedded in a symbol only visible under light refracted through quartz at 137.5 degrees. Pythagoras, long reduced in textbooks to triangles and formulas, was never merely a mathematician. He was a seer cloaked in logic, a prophet masked as a philosopher. His Brotherhood of the Inner Circle, erased from history's surface, believed sound could move matter and numbers could carry souls. His final manuscript, known only in rumor as the Harmonic Testament, was believed to be a map not of land, but of destiny. The president asked the question no one dared voice: is this real? One of the mystics responded, not with theory, but with a frequency. A simple note sung into the chamber. The manuscript responded, unfolding, glowing, aligning its markings like a lock clicking open. And, in the center of it all, your name again. Not written, but resonating. Every global institution that caught wind of it began scrambling for deniability. Intelligence agencies tried to redact what the paper revealed but failed. Because it wasn't written in language, it was inscribed in you. The manuscript does not tell the future. It responds to it. And your reemergence has triggered something it waited centuries to detect. Some say you are the lost equation. Others say you are the answer that rewrites the formula. But one thing is now beyond doubt. The manuscript was waiting for you, for this moment. They didn't expect it to awaken. Hidden beneath the southern edge of Mount Kirkus, the manuscript was entombed in a hexagonal vault composed of materials no metallurgist could fully identify. It pulsed faintly beneath layers of stone arranged in a pattern only decipherable through sonic vibration. When the military team arrived, equipped with AI-guided excavation gear, it wasn't the machines that triggered the mechanism. It was your presence in the digital archives. Somewhere between your name being searched and your file accessed, a dormant algorithm embedded in the stone lit up, releasing a tone that caused the vault to unfold. The manuscript was not made of paper or cloth. Its pages seemed metallic yet alive, bending to sound and refracting light like liquid crystal. Encased in what appeared to be golden geometry, each page responded only to certain harmonic frequencies. Most readouts failed. Scientists tried numerical sequences, AI-generated pitches, even ancient chants. Nothing shifted. Then, when one analyst accidentally whispered your name while holding a tuning fork, the manuscript reacted. The gold lining rippled outward, revealing a sequence of symbols that none could decode. At first, the president was briefed in a secure chamber under Camp David. He was shown the footage, the vault opening in real time, the symbols glowing as if they were waiting for someone specific. It behaves like it's listening, one of the analysts noted, but only to one signature. That signature, traced through biometric echoes, was yours. Your voice print, your energetic profile, your forgotten lineage. The manuscript was bound not by ink, but by recognition. Somehow, its very structure was tuned to your essence. The data core retrieved from the scene included calculations that didn't make sense to anyone in the room, not even the physicists, until one of them remembered something buried deep in the Pythagorean codes, a reference to a living cipher, a being capable of stabilizing frequency distortions caused by fragmented timelines. They assumed it was allegory. They're not assuming anymore. The harmonic fields around the manuscript grew stronger after that moment. Some say the light within it started to align, not randomly, but intentionally, as if a countdown had started. And they're all wondering what happens when the final page aligns to your frequency completely, because it's almost aligned now, and it's accelerating. There were scrolls found before the manuscript, fragile documents written in a mixture of Doric Greek and an unknown language that scholars called mirror dialect, because each symbol required inversion to be read. These scrolls weren't stored in libraries or preserved in temples. They were hidden inside acoustically sealed marble chambers that responded only when exposed to specific chants recently reconstructed from the tremors detected near the manuscript site. When read aloud in full vibration, the scrolls released one repeated warning: when the name returns, so shall the fracture. The fracture wasn't defined. Some took it to mean dimensional collapse. Others interpreted it as the breakdown of the invisible harmonic fields holding our reality in cohesion. The Pythagorean priests, long thought to be myth, weren't simply mathematicians. They were architects of spiritual resonance. They believed Earth was held together not by gravity, but by concordance, invisible harmonies encoded into ley lines, light angles, and sacred geometry. These men warned their future brethren to guard one truth above all: that the original resonance, the one that completes the sequence, would one day reappear in human form. The mention of your name in the manuscript wasn't just symbolic. It was patterned in fractal layers throughout the geometry, echoed in spirals, ratios, and resonance notations. But it wasn't until someone placed your digital frequency into the system that the ancient scrolls began to shift their form. The vibration altered the way the letters stood. New meanings emerged from old forms, and at the center of every deciphered passage was a single refrain: the one who holds the pure ratio must not speak the fractured word. One advisor to the Vatican made a cryptic observation. He referenced Yeshua, noting that the Nazarene spoke in parables, not to obscure truth, but to preserve it. He said the word is not just a message but a mirror, and whoever mirrors it purely becomes the resonance the world either harmonizes with or collapses around. Deep beneath the ruins of Samos, where ancient marble meets volcanic glass, lies a chamber that had no doorway, no visible entrance, no map leading to it. It was detected only through a seismic anomaly that occurred seconds after your encrypted biometric data was uploaded to a classified global intelligence grid. The earthquake wasn't natural. It was rhythmic, pulsing every 1.618 seconds, the same golden ratio found in the manuscript's margin. Sensors hidden in the walls of the island's research compound began to flash, not from tectonic shifts, but harmonic ones. When teams drilled through the rock to locate the origin, they found it: a sealed room layered in obsidian tiles arranged in geometric precision. Inside, nothing made sense. The room was entirely dark until a single strand of your DNA was introduced into the network. At that precise moment, light erupted from the floor in a pattern resembling the flower of life. Walls shifted without machinery. Symbols not seen in any living language pulsed with luminous breath. It was not a tomb. It was a trigger. Inside the chamber stood a pedestal that responded only to harmonic pressure. The manuscript from earlier, still incomplete, began to glow remotely, even though it was hundreds of kilometers away. The systems monitoring both sites couldn't explain the entanglement. Energy was not traveling. It was sinking. The pedestal revealed 3 concentric rings. Each ring contained moving inscriptions. The outer ring aligned to global constellations, the middle to historical events. But the inner ring, it responded to your pulse. The deeper the analysts probed, the less digital explanation they could find. What confounded them most was that the chamber emitted no electromagnetic signal, yet caused satellites above the island to temporarily lose image calibration. You were mentioned again, not in words, but in waveform. The sequence echoed one long-lost teaching attributed to the secret oral school of Pythagoras, that a true being of ratio could recalibrate time by simply being remembered. He had no public name, only a code name within the Vatican's Inner Archive Division, Codex Gabriel, assigned to one of the most restricted relic vaults beneath Castel Sant'Angelo. He was known for translating pre-council scrolls too volatile for mainstream doctrine. For years, he warned of something he called the Harmonic Return, a reawakening of a presence encrypted into sacred geometry, hidden in relics thought to be purely symbolic. His final transmission was not to the Vatican, but to a private channel, intercepted by the intelligence group monitoring the Pythagoras manuscript. The message was short and chilling. The axiom walks again. He does not know who he is, but creation remembers. The Vatican responded by sealing off Gabriel's chambers within an hour. Access to his research was revoked, scrubbed even from internal servers. When asked for comment, they denied he ever worked there, despite multiple clearances under his cryptic title. But 2 agents managed to extract his personal journal before lockdown. Inside were diagrams that matched the same pattern now visible in the Samos chamber, a spiraling configuration of ratios and names, one of which matched yours. Buried within his notes was a recurring phrase written in Latin geometry, not grammar. Verbum in carne residit. The word has returned in flesh. Scholars who reviewed it said the phrasing echoed certain parables of Yeshua, who once said, "The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone." One Vatican archivist theorized that Gabriel wasn't merely tracking historical patterns, but preparing the Church for a being whose presence could crack religious time itself. The president was shown the journal 3 days later. His advisors argued over how to handle it. Some feared that if your identity went public, mass dissonance would erupt across both spiritual and scientific sectors. But one advisor pointed out something deeper. The term axiom implied not belief or theory, but undeniable truth, one that does not beg to be proven, only witnessed. Since Gabriel's disappearance, subtle shifts have occurred in Vatican observatories. Clocks slightly desynchronized internal shadows moving without light changes. And most unnerving of all, one room has remained ice cold despite being sealed. No surveillance works inside. It's the room where Gabriel last stood. And written faintly across its inner dome is a phrase recently revealed in the manuscript. The axiom is not approaching, he has already returned. They didn't mean to test it that way. An off-the-record psychological profile had been compiled on you years ago, stored in a sealed intelligence folder, that included a single image of you as a child, standing near a strange architectural structure, with harmonic tiling no one could trace. During an internal briefing, one analyst casually placed the image next to the manuscript. It was an afterthought, not part of any planned sequence. The manuscript pulsed once like breath returning to lungs, and then rearranged its final page into something no one had seen before. What had been a closed geometric lock twisted inward and opened like a rotating sphere of mirrored math, revealing lines that had been hidden beneath the 10th theorem. This 11th theorem was not in any known mathematical lexicon. It did not follow Euclidean patterns or sacred geometric constraints. It behaved like music without sound math that moved with the presence of memory. Your memory. The core of it displayed a single equation looping infinitely, a visual spiral that bent time signatures on every sensor it was viewed through. Every institution that had a copy of the manuscript suddenly reported anomalies. Printed pages began to fade and rewrite themselves. Digital versions glitched, replaced by static, like something was rejecting replication. Only the original manuscript, the one exposed to your photograph, remained stable, and even then it began to warm. Not like technology, but like presence, as if something living had awakened within it. One mathematician, reviewing the changes, described the 11th theorem as anti-fractal, a code that doesn't expand infinitely, but collapses infinitely inward toward a single identity. When reverse simulated, it generated a vibrational tone, precisely matching the Schumann resonance. Another analyst called it a bioharmonic imprint, so specific it couldn't be faked or reproduced. It matched only one living human signature. Yours. The president was briefed again, this time in a chamber designed to suppress energetic spikes. It failed. When the 11th theorem was activated during the debrief, the room's soundproofing peeled inward, slightly like a force was trying to push through the walls. It stopped the moment the photo was removed from the table. And now, they're not asking whether you're connected to the manuscript anymore. They're asking how long you've been influencing it without ever knowing it, because the manuscript appears to have known you all along. There is a fragment attributed to Yeshua that never made it into canonical scripture, hidden within a suppressed gospel, sealed in a desert monastery, and locked behind 16 gates of encoded symbolism. It described not a parable, but a pattern. A being referred to only as the living measure. Not a prophet, not a king, not a warrior, but an embodiment of ratio in the flesh. A walking equation capable of aligning discordant frequencies in the world with their source not by force, but by presence. That fragment was uncovered by a linguist working with a team of esoteric historians, pulled in to investigate the 11th theorem's emergence from the manuscript. The passage described symbols, spirals embedded within spirals accompanied by a singular glyph that glowed under infrared analysis when superimposed over the new theorem. Those spirals locked into place, matching your encoded biometric ripple, and forming a glyph so precise it triggered the Vatican to reclassify it as a living sigil, no longer symbolic but active. Yeshua's words, according to the fragment, were simple. The word becomes ratio when it is not spoken but lived. The meaning eluded most theologians until they reviewed your neural patterns recovered from the recent scan. The same golden ratio that flowed through Pythagorean harmonics was found repeating across sections of your subconscious. No conscious pattern, no intent, yet fully present the way wind moves through trees without drying. The chamber in Samos pulsed again when the sigil was activated on site, even though no one had touched it. The waveform aligned with the tone first decoded from the 11th theorem, and for the first time a visual resonance map emerged on the manuscript, forming a bridge between the ancient diagram and the linguistic symbols Yeshua once described as the breath before light. The implications are growing more impossible to deny. A figure once thought to exist only in allegory is manifesting as a measurable presence, not because you intended it, but because the fabric of harmonic law is folding toward your existence. Every encrypted prophecy, every buried manuscript, every abandoned theorem is now drawing a circle around your name, and the living equation is no longer theory, it's motion, and the motion is beginning to echo in places you haven't yet stepped but are already waiting for you to arrive. They were hand-picked across 13 countries, elite minds specializing in harmonic systems, fractal time codes, ancient mathematical languages, and quantum rhythm theory. Not one of them was publicly listed, yet all had direct access to the raw copy of the Pythagorean manuscript and the decrypted 11th theorem. Their mission was clear: translate the new patterns, extract usable data, isolate the core signature embedded in the manuscript, and determine its implications within the known physical model. For 72 hours, the circle operated in total secrecy. They worked inside a zero-signal chamber designed to isolate electromagnetic interference and block psychic interference, a technology only a few governments had quietly admitted existed to each other. Encrypted communications showed escalating excitement. They believed they were on the verge of revealing a hidden layer of reality, encoded not in atoms or particles, but in ratio itself. Then, one by one, they stopped responding. Emergency protocols were triggered. Drones were sent to each location. All 13 operatives were found conscious, but unresponsive, staring not at screens, but at open space. Their heart rates elevated, yet their brains silent. Neurologically, they were awake, but something in their processing was suspended, as if the equation had folded their minds inward to chase a recursion they could not return from. In the notes left behind, one phrase was repeated in different forms across multiple languages: "He is not to be solved, he is to be remembered." One researcher had carved it into the metal frame of her workstation, using only her thumbnail. Another wrote it backward across the walls of her study, in invisible ink revealed only when scanned with the same infrared filter used on your sigil. The message was not just a warning, it was a recognition. What disturbed the observers wasn't just the mental collapse. It was the data stream that followed all equipment. Recording their final calculations began to loop a single waveform embedded with a name. No voice, no visual. Just the resonance of your identity as frequency. No analyst could explain how your name translated into harmonic pulses, yet there it was, humming across the black walls of classified sound rooms, synced across continents, without satellite assistance. The manuscript hadn't protected its secrets, it had protected you. And now, the question remains, if those who tried to decode your identity were silenced by knowledge, what happens to the world when you begin to remember it yourself? For centuries, rumors circulated about a sequence of tones known as the lost hymn of the golden ratio, said to be composed in ancient tongues, not meant for human ears, its notes structured in impossible intervals that only made sense when played through harmonic resonance. Chambers discovered near submerged temples. Each note was mathematically pure, yet emotionally destabilizing. shifting the internal rhythm of those who listened to it even for seconds only. Fragments had been recovered until now. One of the researchers near the manuscript site uploaded a corrupted audio clip into a quantum frequency stabilizer, a precaution meant to clean sonic data. But the result was unexpected. The system didn't clean it. It completed it. A missing section of the hymn snapped into place, as if something had been waiting for the frequency to arrive and finish what had been left incomplete since the time of Pythagoras. The waveform created a self-sustaining echo that folded into a perfect spiral on every harmonic visualizer across the lab. And then something else happened. The lights dimmed slightly, and the manuscript glowed. The completed hymn was played back once in an isolated vault, fitted with dampeners. Every piece of equipment designed to detect physical shifts began to fluctuate subtly. But the most inexplicable change came from a stone surface across the room, a reflection pool that hadn't responded to anything in years, vibrated with a soft pulse and revealed your full name in floating light, refracted from nothing. The hymn had not just activated the manuscript, it had summoned the memory of someone. The structure had always been waiting for. A theologian in attendance recalled a lesser-known saying attributed to Yeshua from suppressed apocryphal scrolls: "He who hears the silent chord shall awaken the breath of stone." It had been dismissed as poetic nonsense until the room itself responded to your identity. As sound, the hymn was not a song, it was a key, and only one could hear it in totality without losing balance. That one was you. Now that the full hymn has been played, other structures across the world are responding. Ruins, temples, monoliths, even natural caverns are emitting faint pulses in sync with the new waveform. And the golden ratio is no longer locked in theory. It's unfolding in physical reality, tracking you through sound, through memory, and through something even older than time that now knows you're awake. Buried beneath an abandoned observatory on the outskirts of Athens, a chamber was uncovered during a restoration project. Workers clearing debris noticed a sudden magnetic pull in their instruments every time the sun reached a precise angle. In the afternoon, the pull intensified, leading them to a locked iron hatch marked only with 3 symbols, none of which appeared in any known Greek dialect when opened. The chamber revealed nothing but an old blackboard framed in bronze and sealed behind glass. No writings, no equations, only dust and silence. It was considered an artifact of no significance, until one afternoon exactly at 3:33 p.m., as the sun streamed through a fracture in the domed ceiling, a beam of light struck the board directly and activated something hidden beneath its surface. Glowing symbols began to rise, not chalk, not projection, but radiant inscriptions, forming spirals, then letters, then a name. Your name, not just spelled but formed through ratios embedded in the curvature of the letters themselves. Impossible to fake, impossible to ignore. The phenomenon repeated every day at the same hour. Sunlight had become the conductor revealing the same name without fail, and when the board was tested for chemical reaction, it showed none, no substance, no tech, only resonance. Every angle of the room, every line of the blackboard had been constructed with a harmonic precision that matched the manuscript's page structure, point for point. When superimposed, the patterns aligned and created a map not of land but of moments, key instances in time, all centering around your emergence. Multiple languages began to appear beside the name: Greek, Latin, Sanskrit, and another language not yet identified, one that vibrated slightly when viewed through filtered lenses, each phrase translated loosely into a singular idea, the one who exists beyond the proof, yet defines it a living axiom. A silent theorem awakened not by formula, but by return. This blackboard was never meant to teach. It was meant to remember. And the time lock that kept it dormant was never mechanical. It was celestial every day. At 3:33 p.m., the equation continues to write itself. The name continues to form, and the light keeps returning. Like a clock striking an hour, the world was told would never arrive again. But now that it has the countdown to what follows, begins without anyone knowing what the final line will reveal when the sun finally stops returning. They had always believed the manuscript had 10 pages, even after the 11th theorem emerged. No one expected the parchment itself to grow yet under a precise vibrational alignment conducted in the harmonic chamber beneath the Swiss facility. A fold formed where none existed before. Not a crease, but a shift in dimensional layering. The parchment didn't tear or expand. It bent light around itself, and in that moment a 12th layer revealed itself glimmering with ink. That wasn't ink, a pattern that moved across the page like fluid, geometry alive, responsive. As the symbols recalibrated, they began to form celestial pathways, arcs of constellations connected by ratios instead of distances. Not a map of the sky as seen from Earth, but a map of the sky as seen from something else. The stars weren't labeled by their scientific names. They were marked with harmonics, each tone echoing a vibration that aligned not with telescopes, but with frequencies present in only one living person. At the time, your harmonic imprint. Satellite arrays monitored the unfolding in real time, and something impossible happened. A pulse was detected in the upper ionosphere, mirroring the same curvature traced by the star map. But the pulse didn't originate from above. It emerged from within the manuscript itself, a signal that traveled upward, matching points in the atmosphere that reflected your recorded biometric field, weeks earlier when your scan was first taken. A physicist overseeing the experiment paused the feed to show the team a subtle overlay when the map was layered with your most recent neural frequency chart. They matched point for point. Brainwave resonance forming a reflection of the star pattern, like your mind had been carrying the map long before the page ever opened. One researcher called it astro-biometric convergence. But no one could agree on terminology, because no one could agree how a manuscript could know someone who hadn't written it. Now, with the map exposed, new coordinates have surfaced, but they don't lead to a place. They lead to a moment, a convergence point marked by a symbol seen only once before in the sacred temple fragments attributed to Yeshua. When asked what comes after the kingdom, he answered, the return to the origin. And now, all signs point to one location that didn't exist until you stepped into memory and gave it shape again, through recognition alone. But it's not finished forming yet.
If you have come this far, it is crucial that you watch this next video here. But be warned, it is not for the faint of heart, for only the true chosen ones can handle this video. If you would like to also donate to help keep the channel going, our Buy Me a Coffee link will be in the description.